This is Malika. I work with the Center for Microfinance, and thank you for this opportunity to share about the work we have been able to do during last year in COVID time. We've been supported immensely by Tata Trust. Tata Trust is the founding member, and Reema ma'am from NSC Foundation has also helped us scale up our work in Karoli. And like she mentioned, also that. You mean part of the overall work of NSE catered to aspirational districts. Today, I'm here. We'll focus on basically what we've been able to do in over a period of 1 year to address how did we re-strategize in South Rajasthan, which is largely a tribal area. First of all, just to give you a quick update on what the Center for Microfinance does and how we found it. So, the Tata Trust were looking to set up regional entities in as way back around as 2005, and the whole purpose of setting up of these entities was to basically scale up the learnings of the field programs which the Tata Trust was supporting across different geographies. So in Rajasthan, it happened to be the work was largely around self-help groups and federations. In Uttarakhand, it was around water and sanitation. So that's how a thematic focus in the regional entities also got built in. While we started with self-help groups, capacity building of women's federations, later on with the needs of the community, we moved on to rural livelihoods, focusing on water, agriculture, livestock as to how they make best use of the credit available. And in 2015, we also initiated a multi-thematic work because from the communities where we were working, we did a community aspiration mapping study, and it came out that apart from credit, apart from economic empowerment, their whole structural issues of quality of education, quality of drinking water remain unaddressed. And if we want people to have a good quality of life in rural areas, then it is not only incomes will do the job, but it is also we need to invest in terms of the overall quality of health, quality of education, and how we can enable community to basically demand those services. So that's what our journey has been, starting off from 2007 with a very small member team focusing on SHGs. We started partnering with the government in a very big way to take up the learnings of our work and the Tata Trust partners. 2015, we moved on to implement a multi-thematic program in South Rajasthan. And now we are trying with two major partnerships, one with the Department of Education, as also one with the Department of Rural Development. We are working as technical partners to scale up the sustainable livelihoods and the effective use of library work. So if you see, largely our multi-thematic work is focused in South Rajasthan. The three on the left side, if you see, so South Rajasthan, three districts, basically Sirohi, Pali, and Udaipur. And the older work where we are trying to support women's groups to take charge of livelihoods, take charge of nutrition, integrate other quality of life issues in along with the government, that is spread across the state. Coming to the pandemic situation, now I'll just give a brief about South Rajasthan for those who may not be much aware. South Rajasthan, basically, it has 6 to 7 districts which are largely tribal dominated. These are the high migration belts wherein people migrate to cities in Gujarat, cities to in Maharashtra, and as long as Bangalore also, and largely work in construction, textile industry. The education levels are very low, the land size is limited. So that is one very characteristic area issue of South Rajasthan. When the lockdown started, around 9 lakh migrant workers returned home due to the lockdown. Many returned on foot. If we saw in the rural areas, there was a huge cash crunch and there was distress among households because at least one male member from each of the families was outside earning in one city. And while we work in agriculture, while we work in livestock, while we are working in education in these areas, the whole cash flow was largely from the migration income. There was closure of schools and Anganwadis. There was loss of learning and nutrition. This area of South Rajasthan is home to a lot of malnutrition. A number of funding organizations have been working in Rajasthan trying to support the government on malnutrition issues. So we re-strategized our programs to support the communities, majorly around 3 points. One was basically to focus on reskilling and how to generate more local employment opportunities. The second was on social entitlement linkages, because the government had announced a number of schemes. However, there were always challenges of documentation. There were always challenges of awareness about follow-up with the various government departments. And lastly, the community-based education and library. So we restructured our whole school program in school support we took it out to the community, like the other participants also shared earlier. On the first component, reskilling of migrant youth and local entrepreneurship, a lot of the youth whom we had been engaged in partnering with a number of skilling institutes by taking their counseling sessions to the village level. We had our own counselors trying to counsel them on the host of employment opportunities available, particularly with girls, the counseling of the parents and all, and a lot of girls have been linked with the general duty assistant trainings with a number of nursing homes, and the tribal girls are also earning well. However, in pandemic situation, a lot of these youth came back, they lost their jobs. There was also many of the youth were also, we had placed them with our local business partners as the local shop owners, the local, two-wheeler shops, the repair shops, some other grocery shops and all, and trained a lot of people with a lot of hotels. They had to, so a lot of youth were laid back by the employers because of the business being affected. And we basically then started this apprenticeship model. So on the one hand, what we did was we tried to do a mapping of all the youth who had lost their jobs. On the second hand, there were around 800 small businesses, micro and nano, these type of shops, the stores, the small hotels, where we tried to then link them with. So for example, someone from plumbing had lost their jobs, they were working outside Rajasthan. So if somebody, when the lockdown was being lifted, if they needed some people, so we tried to do that matchmaking. As many of the youth were stressed, we also took up life skill sessions for some of the youth who tried to set up their own things. We did a lot of training on how to get PAN cards, supported with banners and all. So that's how we tried to address with the already available team we had. We've conducted financial literacy workshops for all our local, business partners, whom we call as Udyog Mitras, help them with the MSME credit applications. Those who had actually helped us with the apprenticeship of a number of youth, we actually, got the district administration to recognize them, and also support with some sessions from banks and from financial literacy counseling centers as well. The second program, which we took up in a very mission mode over a period of 6 months, was basically how to avail of this opportunity of the government's response of a number of schemes which were announced. The Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan package was announced. The state government had announced a lot of measures. The Department of Women and Child Development had started this provision of pulses to the against the against the hot cooked meals to the children, but many of the beneficiaries were not aware. So we helped them in basically these awareness sessions in very small groups at the village level, helped through our own team, community cadre, in the documentation. First of all, we had to do a lot of trainings of our own team on how to fill these applications, what are the papers and documents required, because there are around 40 schemes which we targeted, and every scheme has different set of papers which needs to be done. A lot of work went into Aadhaar card corrections, the Jan Aadhaar corrections, and we're very happy to say that we were able to basically, reach out to around 86,000, households from two districts, Sirohi and Udaipur. We were able to process their applications, fill their applications, and 65,000 as in March were able to get the entitlements worth rupees 11.73 crores. And this has been hugely appreciated by the panchayats, by the women's federations, because for very, very small things, they were able to not access the benefits. So these are some of the pictures where you can see that we have distributed, the application forms, we have counseled, we have some of the beneficiaries have actually got their old age pension and all. And through some innovative, folk shows also, we've tried to communicate about the whole entitlement piece. Lastly, we also tried to do our bit in terms of engagement with the taking education to the community level. So apart from the COVID-19 awareness, which we did across all our locations, we also set up some home libraries, and along with the state government partnered in this Hawa Mahal project, wherein lots of stories, lots of activities, the web links of that were embedded in a WhatsApp, a picture and then sent across. It received a very good response. So around in Sirohi and Pali, we were able to reach out to around 9,187 children. With NSE support, we were able to do around 3,000 Karoli, but that I've not mentioned here. This we have been trying to focus as targeting a tribal area, what we did. If you see, parents were kind enough to actually offer a space in their homes where children actually, this was one of the most meaningful things we could do, because we had a limited team, and it was difficult also to onboard a number of community volunteers here. But some of the children who were from, say, classes, say 7 or 8, took those sessions. They helped the children with the stories where they were getting stuck. We also tried to do a number of, trainings of the Anganwadi workers on the EC component through the Google Meet and all, as also involving parents in terms of home activities on EC. So in terms of the education bit, this was what we tried to do. Overall, I would like to end by saying that what we've seen is that there is a lot of value, across all components when we write project proposals, when we write, impact reports. We do mention that we'll ensure more community participation. We will, have leaders, peer mentors, etc. in the community. But this pandemic situation actually taught us a lot of value of actually building self-reliance in the villages, whether it is having business opportunities to the greatest extent possible in the local areas, or even in our education work, the schools were kind enough to actually open the libraries for the children, and some of the children who led the children's library management committees took charge of check-in and check-out of books. As also, if you see about this whole entitlement piece, so having people get an idea that yes, without any kind of corruption, if you just follow up, if you follow the processes, then your entitlement can be delivered. So that's what it taught us about, that in spirit also we need to focus more on the community engagement piece. So that's what has been our experience in terms of the COVID-19 awareness work, and happy to take questions further from the panel and others.
Thank you so much. And you put the whole jury in a mode of how do we even evaluate, where do we begin? Because the difficulty levels itself are so different in each of the regions. So let me ask you a very it's not related to this evaluation. So how have you felt that the level of difficulty year on year and you must have seen it as a trend. Has that changed in any way? Because it's such a complex problem. So right, you solve one, then another one comes. The schemes are changing, so you never get that feeling of having addressed. And I've kind of seen some of these centers on the ground, so I can tell you this work has been happening. You've been doing. Do you feel any difference in the context, the base with which you're working, in terms of awareness, in terms of level of difficulty to reach these government schemes?
Yeah. Thank you. And thank you. And this is, the whole appreciation, because, migration as a problem is actually not acknowledged even by the government and at the CMF or the Tata Trust level also, because no donor actually, recognizes this as a problem, that this is inevitable and we need to empower them with all. I would say that one positive thing which has happened, which is mostly with this whole, technology enabling the direct benefit transfer to the beneficiaries, that has been a real game changer. Because and with this Jan Dhan, and in Rajasthan even before that with the Bhamashah Yojana, we had done a survey from the CMF, and even as way back as 2017, 95% of the households had a bank account, and mostly it was in the name of the women. Now the whole point which we realized now was that while the government has done its bit, there is access. This linking of bank accounts, the activation of accounts, the KYC was something which was a very big issue this time. But let me tell you, people might say that the benefits don't come, but if the account has been activated, the government actually transferred a lot of money, whether it was this Ujjwala Indhan Yojana or whether it was the PM Kisan Yojana. It was actually not getting transferred because of the account activation thing. So we need to actually take it forward with a lot of financial literacy, what we are now also trying to work together. Unfortunately, with the second wave, we had to slow down on how do we build it? How do we ensure that people keep their account active, they register their phone number? Because for very small things, for 1,000 rupee, pension transfer, because her or anybody of her household's members account is not linked, the woman has to go all the way to the bank to check whether the pension has come or not. So this is what we want to follow up with. In terms of the overall issues, if you see, I think a lot of structure and education, and that's how we also started with this community aspiration mapping. Because you can train people, will end up as with very low education levels. Even if they clear 12th, the chances of them getting a job is very less. So this whole point of vocational training, this life skill training, and how we can actually try to inculcate the spirit of resilience and enterprise. So by default, a lot of people, they are used to a lot of hardships, but many people who had started on a very good journey, they lost their jobs, so they were sort of into depression also. So how do we build that structure? One point in the tribal society in this area which we've realized, and that is one of the reasons why this area is also backward, is that the settlement pattern itself is so scattered. So you get married, you build your house on another hillock. The interaction is very less between the parents as also the children. So the support system which we saw in SHGs in say Dausa or Alwar is really missing. There, if the child has someone to be looked after, here, the child is with the nuclear family. So these are also structural issues with the society, why a lot of sharing doesn't happen, why there is this whole socio-emotional care for children gets missing, and for them to be more confident citizens, to be more articulate, while language and transition is one part. So these are some structural issues which, after working for so many, so 4 to 5 years, these still remain unaddressed. And SHGs or bringing community together for a cause, whether it is for nutrition or for education, might actually increase their interaction for a common cause. So that's what the pandemic helped us initiate. So hope we'll be able to take it forward. Yeah.
Thank you, Malika, and thank you for once again an engaging presentation. As Forum said, the jury is feeling very emotional and finding itself to be in a very difficult state of scoring the various presentations. So as we go forward, it is
Yeah. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and let me thank because a phenomenal work now we are trying to do in Karoli on community awareness vaccination with Rima ma'am support, and that is something which maybe the next year we'll have a joint story to present on that. So
Thank you. With that, we will move
Those
to the
joint
next.
stories are most precious.
Yeah.
Because none of us are powerful enough to handle all of this complexity that you were mentioning. So thank you. That's the hope.
Thank you.
Malika ma'am, one
Yeah.
thing that I would like to know, there was not a question actually. I'm a little inquisitive. There's one picture which has blindfolded men, and then there's a board over there, and it's related to life skills. What's going on there?
So basically, this is about, there's a game which about trust. So a blind person, how do you team building type of thing? So whether, someone says that, you go there, so following directions and, so it also, if it's a group of people and how much trust you have, because some person will say that this this object which you need is here, some will say it is here, so it automatically you analyze ki whom do you trust also. So these are type of, and how to build trust, then the people are also asked to reflect why the person listened to that person and not to you. Is there something? So these are very interesting sessions, and these are things which I think the national education policy is also wanting to build in. But these are sort of undervalued things, and as an also session, if we do it, but it has to be integrated across. So people are also able to understand how others perceive them. So that's it's about.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity.